passionate. And of course, I do hope we're not going to sound like we're in the classroom this morning, because I do have two gentlemen in the studio this morning who are teachers, lecturers, and but we'll try as much as possible to make this really conversational so that we all can take one or two things away from today's conversation. And what are we talking about today? We're looking at oral tradition and artistry in the digital age. And I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, where is the connection, or what exactly is this conversation tilted towards this morning? Like I said, I have two gentlemen in the studio this morning whom together we'll be taking a look at this very, very important topic. Joining me this morning is a man I grew up to know. And when he really got into the studio this morning, he just kept shouting, "Where's Abimbola? Where's Abimbola? Where's Abimbola?" Because he's a man of many parts. He's a theater lover. He's a teacher. He's an actor. He's a director. And above all, is a university don. Join me this morning as we welcome Dr. Tunji Sotimirin. Good morning. Thank you for being here.
Very good morning to you.
Morning.
Thank you for having me.
Again, for many who know him, we call him Shadow.
That's right.
So thank you for being here. And of course, we also have an academic and creative entrepreneur who holds a PhD in theater and film studies from the Redeemers University, who lectures at the Adeleke University. This morning, we're glad to have Dr. Tosin Joshua. Good morning, Dr. Joshua. Thank you for being here on the program this morning. And of course, Dr. Sotimirin also lectures at the Adeleke University, and that's why you have both of them here this morning. Again, what we're going to be talking about this morning is something they're both passionate about, and of course, this morning we will see much of that passion during this conversation today. So today we're talking about something, again, like I said, very important, but let's start this way. Dr. Sotimirin, when we say oral tradition and artistry, for a lot of people who might also want to look at this as a learning process, what exactly are we talking about if we break it down to the barest minimum?
Well, thank you very much, for inviting us. Okay, when we talk about oral tradition, we are looking at preserving expressions that is communicated, through spoken words, speaking. That's why it is oral, communicating through speech, through speaking, through songs, poetry, proverbs, especially when it is, expressed in communal environment like we have in Africa.
Right.
Yoruba, Hausa, any ethnic group, will use the oral tradition in that communal environment to communicate information.
Okay.
Yeah. So that, so instead of writing it,
Right.
because that is the background, that is the sheer historical experiences, myths, what else? Like I said, songs.
Right.
For instance, I'm happy that our indigenous musicians still carry on with this tradition. Otherwise, it would be extinct.
Totally lost.
Yeah, totally
Right.
lost. You have the late Ayinde Barrister, Haruna Ishola, Dan Maraya, all of these people use the musical expressions
Right.
to record, to, what do you call it, as it were, to archive,
Stories, right.
living
we are.
experiences,
Right.
so that you don't have to go to the print to know about what's happening.
Okay.
It's something that is in existence
Right.
in that communal environment.
Okay, Dr. Joshua, let me take it from this angle now, coming to you. From what Dr. Sotimirin has explained this morning, I'd like for us to look at it and its peculiarity to the African society. Because again, this is what tells us who we are. And like he said, it's a form of preservation. I think I'm just going to move a bit so that he can see me properly, because he's finding it difficult to just look at me. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Right, so let's look at, the preservation of our culture, our heritage, our stories, the use of folklores, like he said, music, dance, drama, a couple of other things, again, to remind us of who we are. And so where are we today in this preservation? Because like he said, it seems like if conscious efforts aren't made by everyone, then we might just get to a point where these things could also go into extinction, and we might start blaming ourselves for not doing the right thing. So whose responsibility really is it? Do we have to rely on academics like yourself, or is it something that everyone needs to make conscious effort about?
Thank you very much. So basically, I believe that the onus is on us as Africans.
Okay.
It's a personal responsibility of every African to preserve its cultures, because if we look back according to research, the African archive, the oral tradition is archived through speakings, medicine, law, everything that has to do with African is communicated and preserved through oral tradition. Now, looking at this generation, especially the Gen Zs, I believe that it is preserved through this present digital age.
Right.
From our art, the NFTs, the musics, the Twitters. It's just that there are a bit of disadvantages.
Okay.
Of course, because when tradition is passed and stored through digital means, the potency because
Right.
as Africans, there is the story, then there is the power behind it.
Right.
So of course, I believe that through all of our gadgets, the social media, the Twitters, the YouTubes, and all of these things are being preserved. But we also have to connect to the past, the elders, because the elders have the history, they have the story, the experiential knowledge. So, and I think this generation needs to connect to the elders, so that those things are stored.
Right. Dr. Sotimirin, so from what he said, there needs to be a connection.
That's right.
And someone needs to bridge that gap. And of course, you cannot give what you do not have.
That's it.
So before we start talking about the digital age and how we can tap into this particular age, if you look into years past, how were these things preserved? We know that, of course, you could walk into a library to read up on some of these issues or some of these things that we want to talk about. We probably also had the museums, the art and culture organizations, and a couple of other places that you could actually go into to have information how, you know, these things were stored. And so if you look back into that era, how are these things, you know, truly stored before we start looking at what the digital age really has to offer?
Thank you very much. You know, you asked, you know, whose responsibility, you know, it is to ensure that this information that we pass through oral method, you know, is retained, is maintained, sustained, you know. And you see, the method is entrenched in the communal environment. Once you are born into that society, that community, they tell you stories about past activities, events, about, you know, even digging into the relevance of your, you know, your name, telling you proverbs, like I said, mythical experiences, stories are shared. So that what happens is that even if you grow older, you too will pass that information to younger ones, you know, who are coming, you know, behind. And I'm sure that in some, you know, environments, it is still sustained. So if I have to answer you directly, the responsibility is for, you know, elderly ones in that environment to insist, you're not forcing, but insist that you let them understand their oral tradition by passing messages through proverbs, parables, you know, stories, histories. And so, I mean, my children cannot, there's no way that I will communicate in my environment. Even while I am teaching, you know, I still have to express myself through, you know, proverbs, proverbial, you know, knowledge. You know, the Yorubas say, lowe, la lulu gidigbo, ologboni jo, omoroni mo.
Okay.
And it will create curiosity.
Right.
The children will ask, Daddy, what is lowe? And then I will explain.
I'm glad you went there.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to cross over to Dr. Joshua this morning. Are we doing enough to ensure that what he spoke about is passed on generation to generation? Again, I will use parents of today as examples. When you also do not even understand the lowe yourself as a parent, how then do you pass that on to your children? Meaning that, again, there's a need to go back to the families. Yeah. Because whether we like it or not, it's actually, we're losing a whole lot. And not everybody, I remember, and like he knew my mom really, really well. Sure. And I remember that while growing up, parents, mothers especially, could communicate with their children with their eyes, without saying anything. I bet you if I do that to my children, they probably will ask me, Mommy, what's in your eyes?
Non-verbal.
Where's your eyes twitching?
Right, exactly. So where did we get it wrong? Because what we're doing now is more or less like we're trying to salvage the situation. But at what point did we miss it? And if we're really truly going to get back on track and get back to where we were with our tradition and passing on the mantle, we need to understand where we got it wrong. So at what point did we lose it? Maybe not totally, but we missed our steps. And we now need to start retracing those steps. So where did we get it wrong? And how can parents also begin to salvage the situation?
Thank you. First, I think our parents got it all wrong because of their self-esteem.
Okay.
Trying to embrace the Western culture.
Right.
They embraced the Western culture by pushing out
at the detriment of our culture.
At the detriment of our own culture.
Okay.
So I think because of some level of exposure from this generation, having traveled all around, seeing different cultures all around, and seeing other people coming into Africa to embrace our own culture. So you probably don't know the value of what you have until you lose it.
Right.
So now, if you observe that this present generation, especially the Gen Zs, are now beginning to take that responsibility. Okay. If you look at it, a lot of people are beginning to deny, the Christian religion. A lot of young people are beginning to go back to the traditional religion. You'll be surprised. So people are beginning to embrace what they have. And, you embracing what you have has a lot to do with your esteem, because it is your thing. And if you don't embrace what you have, other people, if you don't embrace and value what you have, other people will not appreciate it. Okay. So, yes, our parents they've made that mistakes. But we as children, we begin to see that what we have is enough for us as individuals, as Africans.
Let's come back. You want to add something? Okay, that's
Can I just chip?
Okay, go ahead.
He mentioned the self-esteem factor. Right. That's a profound statement. Right. The problem, I have known right from the outset that I am going to do traditional things, particularly in the arts. Right. Singing, dancing, doing poetry in my indigenous way. Okay. And I decided that I will still go to, conventional institutions, schools. So people won't say that, look, it's because it's an illiterate. No. I am using this forum to tell parents and our children and young minds, young ones, to say, don't be ashamed of your tradition, your history. In fact, when people come, like I said, people travel from far and near to come and study, capture the essence of African tradition, particularly the oral tradition. You see, they flock into this environment. In fact, in the university environments, in some universities, we used to have experts, lecturers who will come and study us, in fact, live with us. In fact, some even marry in this environment because they love their culture. Emphasis, don't be ashamed of your culture. You can still go to school and learn more, right?
Let's okay. You want to
so if you also look at it, I think the educational system also really contributed to all of these. Because I remember growing up, speaking your language, your dialect is being termed as vernacular.
Yes.
You know, so you are being beaten, being
you write
disciplined.
Names for people who speak
you understand. So I think now we are beginning to see clearly that what has been passed to us, we took it hook, line, and sinker. We're supposed to take it and pick what we need and drop what is not needed. But now, like I said, this generation are beginning to see clear because we've traveled wide. Our parents probably had limited opportunities, limited exposure. But this generation, we've really traveled wide, and we're seeing that what we have is enough for us. Chinese are coming, you know, Japanese, everybody's embracing what they have. So,
okay. So, Dr. Sotimirin, let's talk about. We've talked about oral tradition, and now let's look at the digital age. We know that things, that inhibition is actually gone.
Yes.
Where you really do not necessarily. A lot of people teach Yoruba language now online.
Yes.
A lot of people take classes everywhere, and then there's really no inhibition as to where and what kind of knowledge you really can gain. So let's talk about a few of the positives that the digital age has contributed or will continue to contribute to helping us keep these histories. But in answering that question, I'd also like you to help us look at distortion of some of these histories. Sometimes you hear, you'll of course come across certain things, and for some reason you'll know that there has been a distortion in this history because you now know that this wasn't how I heard it years ago, and then you start contemplating which version is actually right. Is it the older version or this new version that I'm, you know, getting? So how do we also marry, you know, all of the positives of this age to ensuring that the right messages, the right lessons is what we're also exporting to our children or to those who are interested in getting this knowledge?
That's right. You know, in any society, in any environment, you have people who take the lead, who are, you know, as it were, you know, are custodians of tradition and culture. It is their responsibility to continue to guide. They should not misdirect or misinform. I know you made the point about even some parents are, you know, lost. They don't have a sense of direction because they have never paid attention to their culture. They don't even know it. But we are saying parents, we're using this platform for parents to re-educate themselves, to relearn, you know, and then reconnect with their culture so that all of those positives can be retained. So the negatives will be, you know, pushed aside. It's not, look, there is no way that you will take everything hook, line, and sinkers. There should be a way to sieve the good things, the good, you know, positive aspect of, you know, the culture. But let me also chip in this opportunity to say that, I mean, you know, I like traditional music, and I am the conquering exponent. I sing traditional music. Shefiu Alao, Baba Oko, that used to be known as Omo Oko, his daughter, well educated. That man has children, daughters that have, you know, studied up to PhD level. They are still, you know, very much interested in their children. So so the role of parent now to preserve the positive aspects. Shefiu allows, he didn't give me $1. I'm just passionate about what encouraging what younger ones are doing. These children, particularly, there's a particular, I've forgotten her name, she actually has recorded traditional music and she sings it, you know, very well with a lot of depth, you know, providing knowledge, sharing, you know, information through that platform.
Right. Dr. Joshua, how can academics like yourself also help fast track this kind of conversations? I mean, we're here sitting here today. Maybe not everybody will be opportune to watch this interview or find it online. But how can academics also contribute to these conversations? And you know, what would you also be doing at your level to ensure that things like this also do not have a negative impact on tradition and things like that, particularly also seeing how we can probably revisit issues of folk tales or folklores. He mentioned communal living way back, but we just need to come to terms and come to reality with the facts that we probably do not have what we used to have anymore, where we can't have people sit and then telling stories, the kind of stories that you even tell your children, and they probably tell you to read a book to them. So how do we ensure that the academics, those also, you know, in that space, shared space, can also help this conversation?
Okay, first, going through the line of academics, I think first it starts with the works of writers. Okay. Yeah, if you look at the works of the likes of Ahmed Jerima, Osita, Ezewanebe, and the likes of them, the focus, because script writing, plays can also, you can tell stories. You tell stories of people's culture through books, through written books, because it is also a form of archiving people's tradition. History, you know, archiving history and all that stuff. I think the first thing is for intellectuals to focus within, not write about other people's culture. When people want to write, they write about other people's culture. You can't know other people's culture more than they do.
Absolutely.
So let's focus on our own culture. Shout out to Moabudu, Daniel Uriahi, Ferdy. Most of these people are beginning to focus. Look at the works, all the films. Everybody is focusing on our even Hollywood.
Stories.
If you check most,
they are telling our stories.
They're telling our stories. Right. Well, there's no film, there's no American film you see now that you won't hear Femi. Yeah. They mispronounce our names.
Absolutely.
Because I think, you know, Africa is where the focus is right now. That's where the focus is. So when intellectuals, filmmakers, artists are beginning to tell stories, they should tell our own stories. But before they tell stories, they should do
their research.
Real research. Because we still have some of these elders, we have Baba Elebui, some of these men
Shogbo
are still alive, you know, Shogbo. We have some of these elders, they're going, but before they all
let them transmit what they have in them.
We need to record, do interviews, and just have these things recorded.
So I know you want to add to. Okay, yes, go ahead, and then I can ask you to.
And which is that, you know, for instance, we, as if you knew our minds, we decided that, look, in order to retain, sustain, and maintain a sense of continuity, you know, of this tradition, so we decided to organize a conference, you know, at Adeleke University, and we chose a topic which is intergenerational dialogue in the arts, tradition, innovation, and digital transformation in Nigerian culture.
Okay.
What this is all about is to, you know, ensure that, you know, the younger ones have a platform to interact, to interface, to dialogue, learn, you know, from the elderly ones, the veterans. You know, so, and I can guarantee you that what we are doing is narrowing the creative divides, you know, between the old and the new, the emerging, you know, younger artists, and it is also going to dovetail, or, well, if you like, be combined with a seminar, which is to create mentorship-focused environment, you know, where you feature these veterans to share their knowledge with the younger ones. And while this interaction is going on, there'll be dances, there'll be singing, there'll be, you know, show presentation.
Exactly.
So, professionals, name the professionals in Nollywood from anywhere in the world. We come to Adeleke on the 16th.
Okay.
That's right.
So that's
20th of September.
That's right. Dr. Sotimirin, as you are going, they'll probably, what will they hold? What will marketing hold in?
No, it's not marketing. You asked me, how can we sustain?
I know, but I didn't ask you to give me the
Sorry,
date.
forgive me.
Okay, Dr. Joshua,
Yes, ma'am.
because again, there are a lot of young people watching us this morning, and for some reason, you seem to connect with the younger generation because of your age group. You know, permit me if I think you're that young.
No, I am.
But so
I
a lot of young people, if you speak with them today or you interact with them today, telling them about what we're discussing here today, you hear things like, oh, that's old fashioned.
Yeah.
Oh, that's your generation.
They say that.
Our generation is the woke generation.
They say that.
So what's your take or what's your charge to such people this morning? I'm just going to paraphrase a Yoruba adage that says, if you use your left hand, please help me.
To beat your child or scold
No,
your
not to scold your child. No, to
No,
back
to
in June
point
way.
to
in
point
Eba
to
there.
father's house.
So you don't-
You're a
Uh-huh.
bastard.
Yes, you don't
Yes.
direct,
I hope that
give
Yeah.
direction
that is
of
allowed.
your house.
With using your left hand. All right. So, I mean, that's just a way to say that you do not ridicule what you have.
Exactly.
You just have to hold it in high esteem
That's
so
right.
that people can also toe that path and
right.
just also respect your tradition, your personality, who you are. So, to young people this morning, what's your charge to them? And why do you think that they really need to own this conversation?
Okay. First, I don't totally agree that this generation is throwing away what they have.
Okay.
Like I said initially, I think people are beginning to appreciate, young people are beginning to appreciate what they have. If you look at it, from fashion to music to dance to films to art, even to medicine, to law, everybody is coming back home.
Okay.
Everybody's approaches is being embedded. There's
So
this,
there's more
this
conscious
acceptance,
effort. Okay.
conscious effort, and acceptance of the African approach.
Okay.
But it's just that the system through which it is being accepted and transmitted and communicated can be different because of the technological advancement.
Is the technology too expensive?
Yeah.
Is it too expensive for this generation to connect with? Expensive in the sense that, yes, for music, maybe not, but for things like ebooks that you need to probably, a lot of people also run away from patronizing ebooks because they have to pay, because we also have a lot of people who love cheap things. A lot of
Yes.
people
Yeah,
also
of
do not
course.
want to
No,
spend their
Africans
money
love cheap things.
to spend their monies, of course, to acquire knowledge.
That's right.
And we've also heard that, you know, if you actually want Africans, it's a saying which I really do not believe, ask them not to read because, again, they do not like reading. But what we're saying here is perhaps if we begin to make these things more attractive, maybe just listening through songs, not necessarily having to read, or would that make it better? Would that make it more attractive to, I'm not going to say to the younger generation now, to every lost soul. Every lost soul
respond?
in the traditional world.
Thank you for
Okay,
giving me
that,
the
both of you would
Yeah,
answer.
No,
that
no,
question.
sir.
Okay.
Just
Thank you for giving me the You know, see, truly, the digital, this is why it's new and old. So,
So it's emerged.
Yeah, so we make these platforms accessible to them. They already have it on their phones. It's accessible. And for instance, that in Adeleke, we have, you know, what you call those internet, connections for them, free of charge. There are scholarships for all these, younger ones. For instance, in Adeleke, so that's what I'm saying. If you say the digital media or the technology is expensive, there are some people who deliberately, make life meaningful, easy, seamless, for them.
Okay.
So this is also why, for instance, Doyin Amodu, I don't know if you have heard of that lady. Doyin Amodu is taking care of, the elderly artists, the veterans, particularly the Yoruba expression, of artists. And she even has a place where they can stay, live, they travel, or to go and do, what do you call it, when they explore the adventures. So, and this Doyin Amodu has said that, look, Dr. Sotimirin, I want to come and partner with you in Adeleke to mobilize the elderly artists that they call themselves, the great thespians. They are all coming.
Okay. Dr. Sotimirin,
sorry, ma, please.
Okay,
I really wanted to, based on the initial questions you asked, I wrote something down here talking about how, the digital space. And I said you were asking how it can be interesting to them, to this generation. I wrote it here that, the village square has, evolved. The space have evolved, the forms have evolved, proverbs have been turned into memes and captions, folk tales into animated short and web series, chants into Afrobeat hooks and spoken words, masquerade into AR filters and VR experiences, and griots they've become, people who tell stories, the use of the Instagram, the social media. So the
platforms are there.
The platforms are there that makes it interesting for this information to be passed. And like I said initially, the only issue is the potency of this information, the potency of how these things are being communicated. That's just where the issue is. But I think the first thing is to accept it first.
Okay.
Let it be accepted. Let it be, there's a platform, let people see it, let there be an awareness, then because there can be no awareness before acceptance.
Right.
So the digital media has helped to create a very solid and large acceptance and awareness for people, for the young people to know.
Okay.
So then after the knowing, then there is a consciousness of, if they are to observe and if they're interested in it or not.
Okay.
So,
and then you can own it.
Exactly.
All right, as we wrap up this conversation this morning, I know I already asked what the academics can do. Yeah. But again, Dr. Sotimirin, you, like I said, you're a man of many parts. You belong to several bodies. So what should also the filmmakers be doing to ensure that the kind of, I know we're telling the stories, I know we're doing the needful, but again, what kind of conscious effort should we make to ensure that we're not only telling the stories, we're telling the stories right, and then we're projecting our country in a better image as we are at the moment?
That's right. Yeah, let me say that the filmmakers, particularly, African filmmakers, emphasis on Nigerian filmmakers, they are actually very conscious of this statement that you made to redirect the minds of our people, not only the younger ones, because even the elderly ones are losing interest.
Yeah, absolutely.
They are distracted. Our economic wherewithal is something that is more or less
dwindling,
failing them.
Okay.
So in order to have some kind of succor, the filmmakers are saying, we are producing and releasing this sort of movies that will engage you, that will, as it were, give you opportunity to remember certain things. Some people don't even leave their homes. They do their businesses within the confines of their homes. So those stories are there. The platforms, are there for them to key into. They can make a lot of money, even through by channeling, YouTube, where our producers put these movies,
films, the works,
Netflix and all of these, platforms.
Yes,
and people even take stories like in the days of our father, Chief Tunji. People travel with their plays.
Yes.
For instance,
the traveling theater.
Yes, I know a student, Shegun
Adefila,
travels
all around the world
with his plays.
Okay, we need to wrap up this conversation this morning, but I'm sure that most definitely this has been another eye-opener. Again, not generally for the young people, but for everyone who's also losing touch with the tradition here. And the closing part here is that the future of oral tradition may ultimately depend on how creatively we pass the past into the hands of the next generation. We would not leave it in the hands of Dr. Sotimirin and Dr. Joshua alone. We all must be involved, and everyone must play a part in this particular conversation. Thank you so much, Dr. Tunji Sotimirin, actor, theater director, and University Don, for coming on the program this morning. And thank you so much, Dr. Tosin Joshua, creative director and entrepreneur. Thank you very much for all that you do.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for your time
you
this morning. I know you are going to hound me.
Because
It's crucial.
I
It's
know,
crucial.
I know you're
It's
going
important.
to help me.
People ask, where can we come and to learn? That we are not charging them 1 naira.
I know.
They should come to Adeleke University
Dr.
on the
Sotimirin,
16th.
what's today's date?
To 20.
Today's date is...
To 20th.
Have you gotten your salary for the month?
I don't, it's not a salary. I'm interested in imparting knowledge.
So that we'll know what to take from you.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for...
I'm meeting you on their behalf.
On my behalf.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I know
you
what
very
it
much.
took. I know what it took us to actually bring Dr. Sotimirin on this program. He's been really on our necks that he really wanted to come. But honestly, it's been a conversation that we should have because, again, without having this conversation, it's going to be at the detriment of us all because we all must contribute and ensure that our culture, our heritage, everything that makes us who we are do not die. We'll take a quick break. When the conversation returns, Adebimpe and Joy will be here with their Lagos conversation.